Hello, this is Luis, and I've lived in Atlanta, Georgia my whole life. Atlanta is the largest city in the southern United States. It has lots of public transportation happening all the time, with lots of private transportation, with very little public transportation to move the needle, people moving around. Relatively mild climate, warm winters, hot summers, large agricultural industry, focused mostly on like cotton, peanuts, and other cash crops like that. Large agricultural industry and large chickens, one of the largest chicken producers in the entire United States. And one of the major impacts of that, we're understanding about climate change and recording that in Georgia, is seeing it's not necessarily warming up here as opposed to other places. It is warming up, but only a few degrees. The one interesting thing that's seeing happening is there's becoming freezes that are happening earlier and later in the year, which is shortening the crop growing season. So we're understanding how the climate environment is changing how the seasons are changing and shortening the growing season, which is heavily impacting our agricultural growth and what could be done in the Georgia area. Something that moved the needle on public sentiment is focusing on like how this will affect Georgia's GDP and what it could mean for farmers and the people who live here. Of they have fewer weeks in the year to actually grow their crops. They'll have smaller harvests. They'll sell less things. They'll make less money from the selling fewer and fewer peanuts. That's the major impact in like having closer freezes in the fall and earlier freezes in the spring. Some breakthroughs that could really impact this would be probably some GMO crops or some other things that could like, or planting different seeds or something that could like change the things we're currently working with in Georgia to make it more conducive to the future with the climate changes, and different things need to be grown in the soil and the environment here than have typically been thought of as Georgia crops in the past, and teaching that to the farmers here and changing the public sentiment over this is what it was before, but this is what it's changing to, and how to effectively farm and grow things and produce in Georgia. The highest priority that researchers should be focusing on is crop yield, and if there's enough food to actually feed all the people, because it's well and good the farmers make enough money to sustain themselves, but it could be a different matter entirely if different changes in heating pattern actually change the amount of food we're getting from crops that could lead to famine. So it's important to monitor like which crops yield what amount of calories, what amount of food, and if the projected growth from farmers and crops is enough to actually feed the population of Georgia, but also the United States, because Georgia is a very high agricultural industry, and other states like Midwestern states, like how is the climate change affecting those, and really see how the climate crisis is affecting the crops and the growing seasons of Georgia and the entire United States, and making sure that we're not inducing a famine through this climate crisis. Thank you very much, and yes.